Hello, Chris Godinez, licensed professional counselor, also the host of We Need to Talk on every Sunday at noon, and then I post it up to Facebook. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. The views and opinions stated herein are mine and mine alone. They do not represent the ACA, the APA, or any other therapist for that matter. Boom, shakalaka done. I would like to thank my sponsor, BetterHelp. BetterHelp. BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. They're an online therapy company. They are international. So if you are anywhere in the world and you are having a hard time getting into a therapist, go on to BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. Fill out a few questions and they will set you up with somebody here in the US of A. If you are here in the US of A, you don't like your therapist, you just go on to BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez and fill out the questionnaire and they will place you with somebody who is licensed, professional, master's level or PhD level in your state. So there we go. Thank you, BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. Okay, let's dive into the questions. Boy, howdy. So Sunday's episode really brought up a lot about dealing with elderly parents and feelings of guilt and anger and all sorts of stuff. So a lot of these questions are having to do with that. I am so angry at my abuser and I will never forgive them, but I feel stuck. Help. Okay, so here's the thing. It's normal to feel anger at your abuser, and especially if the abuser was a parent, is a parent. So anger is a normal response to hurt. So remember, fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Anger is part of the fight, flight, freeze, or fawn response. So anger is not a pure emotion. Love is love, lust is lust, happy is happy, sad is sad. Anger is the bodyguard of the softer emotions, and it's usually guarding the feelings of betrayal, the feelings of fear, and the feelings of hurt. So when we get angry, it's always a good idea to ask ourselves, where did I get hurt? How am I feeling betrayed? How am I fearful? What am I afraid of? That's always what you want to ask yourself, because the anger is never the issue. You know, it looks like it's the issue, but it's never the issue. So it's always what's underneath the anger, what's going on. So when we've been betrayed by a parent, especially, we feel anger. But what happens is with an abusive parent is that what they usually do is tell the kid, you can't feel angry. Don't you dare be angry at me. I'll give you something to be angry about. Or you can't be sad. I'll give you something to be sad about. Or, you know, things like that. And so they make emotions for us not safe, not okay, you know, frightening kind of thing. So the other thing that happens is that we get stuck in the anger. So it's like, you know, we just get stuck in the anger because we haven't been allowed to express it. So what you want to do is you want to get it out of your head, get it onto paper. I know. That's going to be my answer for damn near everything as far as that's concerned, as far as emotions are concerned. You want to get it out of your head onto paper, write out everything you're angry about. What did they do to you? Okay? And remind yourself, I have the right to feel angry because you betrayed me. You hurt me. You harmed me. You did this to me. You did that to me. Do you see where I'm going with that? So allow yourself to feel the anger. Write it out. But at the very, very end, you don't get to ruin my life. Yeah, I acknowledge you hurt me. You harmed me. You made me feel fearful. You made me feel obligated. You made me feel guilty. You made me feel, you know, you did all of this stuff. And guess what? You lose. A-holes. You lose. I win. Because I am kicking you out of my head. You are not living rent-free up here one more second. Get out. I rebuke you. I refuse you. Adios. Bye-bye. Go pound sand. Bye-bye. And then you trot it out to the barbecue and burn it. If you don't have a barbecue, shred it. If you don't have a shredder, rip it into tiny little pieces and turn it into confetti. You know, bury it. Do whatever you want, but get rid of it. Okay? Because the brain, the amygdala, doesn't know the difference between having really mailed it and having just read it out loud and burnt it or shred it or whatever. So that's what you want to do with that. Anger is a normal emotion to harm, to fear. Oftentimes when people are ragingly angry, it's because they're afraid. You know, if you show me somebody who's a raging anger person, there's a lot of fear there. A lot of fear. So whether they're willing to acknowledge it or not is another question. But yeah, so anger is not a pure emotion. It's not ever about the anger. It's about what's underneath. What's the fear? What's the hurt? What's the betrayal? What's the sadness? What's the softer emotion that's underneath the anger. So you want to work on the softer emotions. Get with a good trauma therapist and have them help you. There is a great book called, There's a Cow in the Parking Lot. Cannot remember who it's by, but it's an anger management book. It's a Buddhist perspective. It's called There's a Cow in the Parking Lot. And I strongly recommend you read that. So that's a good one. So that's how you kind of get, because I did the same thing. When I was dealing with my dad, I was so angry, and I had a lot to be angry about. He was a very abusive man. So, and my friends would joke, this is Chris happy. This is Chris sad. This is Chris just sitting there. I was just angry, But as I started processing and working on the inner child and working on all the harm and all the fear, huge amount of fear, just terrified because he was a loose cannon. You never knew what was going to happen when he walked in the door at night. Was he going to be kind or was he going to be looking to hit you? So, yeah. So you work on the fear, you work on the softer emotions, and you start allowing yourself to feel the vulnerability. And that's why we get angry. Because if we're like the Incredible Hulk, nobody in their right mind is going to come anywhere near us, right? And so in our little kid heads, we're like, oh, okay, if I'm angry, people stay away. Good. But then it's also, if you're angry, people stay away, which is not what you want. So yeah, you want to work on getting in touch with those softer emotions and working through the betrayal, working through the fear, working through the sadness. That was the big thing that hit me, is that a lot of what I was feeling was fear and sadness that I didn't want to acknowledge. So, that's what I'm saying. You got to feel it to heal it. You got to feel it to heal it. So good question. Okay. Yes, I got a lot of these. How do I start distancing myself then from my toxic parents? Okay, so in this case, the toxic parents were not uber elderly. They weren't in like a care home or anything. And so it was kind of like, okay, I'm an adult, I'm doing my own thing, but I'm wanting to distance myself from my toxic parents. So really, it's going to be boundaries. Boundaries, boundaries, boundaries. So The Disease to Please, Harriet Breaker, or get other books on how to draw boundaries. You're going to have to say no and mean it. No, and I mean it. And so what these toxic parents often do is they don't take no for an answer. They don't. They're like, well, you have to come over. You have to do this. You have to go to this family reunion. You have to. And I don't got to do nothing but pay taxes and die, biatch. But we get this thing in our head, and it's the inner child. Mom, Dad said I have to, so I have to. No, you don't. No, you don't. You can say no. So when I started separating from my parents, one thing that really helped, and not everybody is able to do this, is I moved 1,000 miles away. Seriously. Because I knew if I didn't, it would be enmeshed. It would be, no, you've got to come over. No, you've got to see Dad. No, no, I don't. No, thank you. So if you can, physical distance really helps. If you cannot, then you're really going to have to work with a trauma therapist to work on assertiveness and being able to draw boundaries, know what your list of deal breakers are, say no and mean it. My parents used to come unglued if they wanted me over there and I said no because I already had prior plans. Well, you can't have prior plans. You're our child. You have to do it. No, I don't. I don't. I've got other plans. Sorry. Not even sorry, but at that time I was still apologizing. So, you know what I'm saying? So it's like you start saying no and meaning it, and you start slowly backing away. So like instead of saying no every single time, right in the beginning, you're going to go no maybe every other time or every third time. And then you start making it no every other time and then every time, if that's what you want, You just kind of slowly distance yourself. Now they'll notice, absolutely, because if they're the type of parent that does the whole jump and you better ask how high, then yeah, when you say no, they're going to be like, oh, what? You can't say no to me. I'm the parent, that kind of thing. So, if they do that, no, no means no. No is a complete sentence. Remember that. No is a complete sentence. You don't owe anybody an explanation. Well, why? Why aren't you coming over? Because I have plans. And no means no. And they won't like it. And then you're going to have to hang up on them. And that's fine. You know, if you have to do that, then do that. So, this is why it's a good idea to get with a trauma therapist, because the inner child is going to be freaking out. So you can get the Inner Child Workbook by Catherine Taylor, or you can get the Inner Child Workbook by Lucia Capaccioni. Those are two really good books that a lot of clients I have are really loving. So, you know, get that and start working on the inner child, because the inner child is the one that freaks out when we draw boundaries with the toxic parent. Because remember, as a child, giving in to them, fawning to them is what kept us safe. And now as an adult, we're having to back away, you know, that kind of thing. And it's scary. It's scary. So get with a good trauma therapist to help you do that. But you're going to do it slowly. So like, let's say they want you over every single day. Okay, you start coming over, you know, every, 3 days or something. And then pretty soon it's once a week, and then once every other week, and then once a month. You know, it's like you just slowly start backing up. And of course they're going to be like, well, why? Well, why? And we're so used to oversharing. That's the other thing you're going to have to watch out for, is don't overshare. I have plans. No means no. I'll catch you next week. And leave it at that. So yeah, there probably is going to be some blowback, but don't be afraid of it, hun. You got to live your own life. You got to live your own life. I hope that answered the question. There was another one on anger. I feel angry all the time. How do I manage it? So, Cow in the Parking Lot. There's a Cow in the Parking Lot. Go get that book. It's really good. And write it out. Write out your anger. There's a reason we feel angry. Like I said, don't be afraid of your emotions. All the emotions are good, even anger. Because anger just lets us know when we've been hurt or we're in danger or, whatever. So allow yourself to feel the anger, but do it in a constructive manner. So get with a good trauma therapist. Get There's a Cow in the Parking Lot. Start working on all of that. Wow, there's a lot of questions on the toxic covert parents. Wow, I guess I touched a nerve on that one. How do I let go of the guilt of abandoning them? Okay, they're adults. If they did not want to be left alone, they should not have acted like jackwagons. Plain and simple. You have nothing to feel guilty about, okay? It's not your job to entertain them. It's not your job to be the parent to them. It's not your job to caretake them. It's not your job, but they've groomed us. They have created the codependency that we feel parentified, and that we are responsible for them and their emotions, which then bleeds over into our romantic life and our personal life, where we feel we are responsible for everybody's emotions, okay? And we are not responsible. Now, if we've done something to harm somebody, yeah, that's our responsibility, and you clean that up, right? But if somebody's bored, if somebody's, petulant, and we had nothing to do with it, that is not ours, guys. But these toxic parents, well, it's your job to entertain me. It's your job to make the decisions for me. It's your job to caretake me. It's your job. No, it's not. No, it's not. So you have nothing to feel guilty about. It's the parent's job to be a parent to you, not vice versa. Notice how they flipped the script on that one. No, you need to take care of me. You need to be the parent. You need to make all these decisions. I can't think. You need to think for me. I hate that. Can I tell you how much I hate that? So, yeah, you work on letting go of the guilt. You got nothing to feel guilty about. You got nothing to feel guilty about. And you're not abandoning them. You're just not doing every single little thing they want you to do. Nor should you. No good parent would demand that an adult child do every little single thing that they want them to do. That's crazy. That's cray-cray right there. So, yeah, get with a good trauma therapist and work on separating, unenmeshing. So right now, when we feel guilty, if we leave and live our own life, that's enmeshment. Enmeshment, like caught in a net, caught in a trap. So you want to start cutting the net and getting out of there. So get with a good trauma therapist. Work on The Self-Esteem Workbook by Glenn Schiraldi, The Disease to Please, Harriet Breaker, CPTSD from Surviving to Thriving by Pete Walker, and really come into your own. You don't owe them anything. You're not abandoning them. You are living your own life. A good parent what they want to do is they want to teach the kid everything they possibly can. And there you go. Okay, great. I'm right here. If you need me, I am right here. Have fun right when you get work. That's what you do. You send them off to go fly, and occasionally they'll come back home and do laundry and get, spaghetti and stuff and, all that sort of good stuff. And that's what a good parent does, is you let them fly. What a bad parent does is they clip their wings. And that's what these parents do. And they rule by fear, obligation, and guilt. So if you're feeling fear, obligation, and guilt with them, it is a toxic relationship. Get with a good trauma therapist and start working on your guilt, because it's not even yours. Hand it to them. It belongs to them. Someone taught you to feel guilty. Who did it? Who's making you feel guilty for living your own life? So you might want to write them a go pound sand letter and burn it, whoever taught you that. So get with a good trauma therapist and start working on that, because I can guarantee you that guilt more than likely is not even yours. Oh, and the second half of that question is, I went no contact and now they are in assisted living. Not your problem. Not your problem. Seriously, not your problem. So, like I said, a lot of these care facilities are filled with collapsing and collapsed narcissists. And they, you've abandoned me. I'm in an old age home, blah, 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 blah. It's like, okay, look. No, you haven't abandoned them. You've made sure they're safe. They're in a care facility. And you are living your life, and you will visit on your terms. But a lot of these collapsed narcissists are like, realizing they're losing power, realizing they can no longer manipulate, realizing they can no longer control, and it pisses them off no end. So you go live your life. You have nothing to feel guilty about. They're safe. They're okay. They've got somebody watching them. Go live your life. Go live your life. Visit when you want. So there's that. I hope that answers the question. If you went no contact and now they're in assisted living, stay no contact. So it's just like I was talking about on Sunday, which was Mother's Day. I'm like, look, if you're no contact with an abusive parent, an abusive mom, don't feel like you need to contact them just because it's Mother's Day. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to say this. Same thing for Father's Day in June. So you've gone no contact. Now they're in assisted living. Stay no contact. You owe them nothing. Nothing. So work with a good trauma therapist to get rid of that guilt. It's not yours. I guarantee you, somebody taught it to you. Okay, I put myself in a bad situation and had to move back in with my toxic parents. Ooh, what should I do? Okay, you are going to stay out of the house as much as you can and use it as a place to sleep, and that's it. I know. So you're going to get a job if you need one, or if you don't have one. You are going to work that job. You are going to save up your money, and you are going to get the HE double toothpicks out of there as soon as possible. You are not going to overshare with them. The more you're around them, and this is a danger for people that are having to move back in with toxic parents. Oh Lord, this whole economic thing. Yeah. Is that when you're back in the environment in which you were harmed, we tend to slide back into those old roles. And that's dangerous, because we turn into little kids. The inner child starts taking over. So you're going to want to get with a good therapist or a support group of some kind, so that you have that reminding that, hey, this was crazy. I don't have to slide back into this. I've got support. It's all good. So, there are support groups. Just be aware that sometimes narcissists are able to infiltrate, so be careful. But you wanna get a therapist if you can. If you can afford it, you definitely want to get a job. You want to get the hell out. And really what you want to use the house for is just a place to sleep. That's it. And I can guarantee you pretty soon the toxic parents will be coming unglued over that. They're going to this is what I see narcissistic parents do. They will start demanding that you do all the housework. That's one thing. Now, it's fine to do the common areas, because it's a common area. That's great. And you clean your room. But what I see narcissistic parents do is, you need to clean the whole house, and you need to do the garden, and you need to do this, and you need to do that, and you need to. Or what they will do is they will charge an outrageous amount of rent, and, you need to pay rent. And they're charging just about as much as you would if you were, out looking or living in an apartment. So you don't want that. If they're doing that, get out. You might as well just go get your own apartment. So, yeah, be careful. Be careful, because narcissists have a sense of entitlement, and they think that what's yours is theirs. And I've seen them demand to know how much you're making, and that the paycheck has to go to them. And you get the hell out. You'd be better off at a shelter, honestly, than you would living with an abuser like that, because you'll never be able to save up enough money if you're staying with them and they're demanding that they take all your paychecks. So be aware. Be aware. They play all these games, and, oh, you owe it to us because we let you sleep here, and da 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 da. Okay, great. A reasonable amount of rent would be like, okay, well, let me pay the utilities, or let me pay for, let me pay $200 or $300 a month. That's reasonable. Okay. $1,000 plus. No, that's not reasonable if they're your parents. And of course, with my kids, I don't charge them rent. So, it's like, don't get me started, because I know it's like let me get on my feet, let me get myself going, let me, and it's like, okay, so, or if I had to charge them rent, it was like $200, so just to cover utilities. So yeah, so there's that. And when I say my kids, not my birth children, but, all of the children in the family that I've ended up being a mom to in a one way or shape or form. So anyway, yeah, if you put yourself in a bad situation and you had to move back with the toxic parents, as soon as you can, get a job, get the hell out. See if you can move in with friends. See if you can, find even just a room to rent. That would be better than staying with a toxic family, because they will sabotage you. Be aware of that. That's the other thing I've seen them do, is that they'll sabotage you having a job. So be very careful. My parent went to counseling and basically told them I ruined her life. Oh, Jesus. Okay, how do I cope? Okay, I'd like to know how you know that. So if the parent came back from counseling and said, well, I told my therapist that you ruined my life, leave. Because no good therapist would believe them, number one, because a child does not ruin the parent's life. So, here's the thing. Narcissists, I honest to God, sometimes I wonder why they bother having children, because, well, I know why they have children, because they just need supply. So they either, and I'm going to talk about this next week, the mini-me's, the golden child, or they need somebody to blame. They just want to blame somebody for every miserable thing that's ever happened to them. It's your fault I got pregnant. It's your fault I had children. It's your fault I don't have a career. It's your fault, your fault, your fault, you. So, and they're crazy. So you cannot believe anything that comes out of their mouth. They may have gone to their therapist and said that, it's all your fault. A good therapist would have said, really? Your own child ruined your adult life? Really? Now, what they mean by that is not an abusive child coming back and, harming the parent or whatever. They mean that just by having the kid, the child ruined their lives. Okay, so that's bogus BS, right? And, my dad used to kind of pull that crap. He would do the whole, I can't retire because of you. And the funny thing of it was I was independent from the time I was 17 on. And so he would pull that, and I'd look at him and go, really? Why? And he'd not have an answer. So, yeah, no, wrong, sorry. So, and why is she coming back and telling you that? That's my big question. It's like, what good parent would come back and say, you ruined my life, and I told my therapist you ruined my... So what she's looking for is validation that you're the bad guy. So no contact, low contact, no contact. How do you cope? You go get with your own therapist, and you work through the betrayal with your mom, and realize that a healthy, sane parent would never say that. Now, healthy, sane parents, do they get annoyed with their children? Yeah, of course they do. But you don't say things and do things to hurt your own child, or anyone else's child for that matter. So, yeah, that's it. There's something going on. Get with a good therapist, work on your self-esteem workbook by Glenn Schiraldi. Take it with a grain of salt. If this person is disordered, this is part of their disorder. This is what they do. They like inflicting pain. And she can say whatever she wants to whoever. I'm really interested to see what the therapist supposedly said to her, because a good therapist would be like, explain this to me. How is this working? Why are you not taking responsibility for your own life? You know, that kind of thing. So anyway, how do I tell if the person I'm dating is healthy or disordered? I feel drained after I'm with them. Is this, oh, and they are very controlling and jealous. Well, there you go. That's disorder right there. Healthy people do not have time or energy for controlling, jealous behavior. We just don't. We just don't. It's not there. So, how you feel when you're with somebody really speaks volumes. If you're feeling exhausted, that's an energy vampire. That's a narcissist. That's a borderline. That's somebody who's malignant. That is somebody who is controlling and jealous, and all of that is disordered behavior. If they're controlling and jealous, run. Do not walk to the nearest exit. Run, because that's bad juju. If you feel exhausted after seeing them, and not exhausted in a good way, like exhausted in a, oh my God, my energy is just completely drained. Yeah, that's toxic. That's your sign. There's your sign. Seriously, there's your sign. Listen to it. So, and also listen to your gut. What is your gut telling you? That's not healthy or normal. My abuser would always reject sex if I initiated it. Is that a thing? Yes, because it's a power and control issue. If you're initiating sex, then you're in control, supposedly, in the abuser's brain. In healthy, normal people's brains, it's like, oh, we're going to have relations. Great. We're going to go have sex. This is wonderful, But with an abuser, it's always about power and control. So they have to initiate it. They have to be the one to control it. They have to be the one to decide when, where, how, what, why. Okay, so it's a power and control issue for them. Sex is never about the intimacy. Let me be very clear with this. When you are dealing with a narcissist, sex is never sex. Sex is always a power show, a power play. It's always, how can I control? How can I manipulate? How can I make sure that I'm in charge of the situation? Okay. It's never a opening yourself up, being vulnerable, enjoying your partner, spending time with them, emotionally vulnerable, physically vulnerable, enjoying each other's bodies. It's never that. It's always, how can I control this? How can I manipulate this? How can I make sure that I'm the one that's in charge? So remember that narcissists do not allow themselves to feel emotions, and they certainly, they can do anger and they can feel sorry for themselves. I've seen them do that, but they don't allow the softer, vulnerable, real emotions that healthy, normal people have, which is, enjoying sex and not looking at it as a power play and not looking at it as I have to be in control. You look at it as a partnership. It's like, oh, yay, adult playtime. Yay, that's what you look at it as, but they don't. They view it as an I need to control, I need to be in charge, etc., etc., etc. Okay. One quick question. Maybe I should save this for next time. I'm going to save it for next time because I need to get going. So, all right, my loves. So you guys be good. This Sunday, I'm going to be talking about mini-me's. So they live vicariously. Why do they live vicariously? Through the mini-me's. Why? And I'm going to title it Mini-me's, and we're going to be talking about the golden child. We're going to be talking about the golden child. We're going to be talking about how that affects the golden child, and especially if the golden child falls from the golden child, pedestal, and then how that affects the rest of the family and the whole thing. So why do they need mini-me's? So why do they live vicariously through them? What is up with that? So we're going to talk about golden child. So that's going to be it, but I'm going to title it Mini-me's because otherwise YouTube would come unglued. You know how they are. All right, sweeties, you guys have a great week, and I will talk to you on Sunday. Bye.